morning. Welcome to CTV, the Christian Trucker Vlog. My name is Lee. I am first and foremost a Christian. Second of all, a father of the two coolest and hippest daughters on the planet. And third, a long-haul truck driver who travels through the Pacific Northwest and Western Canada with a 53-foot flat deck and a 2018 International LT with the world's stupidest automatic transmission. Don't get me wrong, I love me some automatic. I really do. After 10 years of Super B bulk with an 18 speed, all day long you're rattling that shifter all the time. I don't miss it whatsoever. Western Star has a pretty smart automatic transmission. It works very well. It's an Eaton Fuller, to be honest. It's not Western Star. But the Eaton Fuller 18 speed automatic I had before leaving Arrow was a brilliant transmission. You'd start off empty and it'd go, oh, we're empty. So it would be 3, 6, 8, 9. You know, it would just skip the gears it didn't need. This thing, when I'm empty, it's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. You know, it's completely backwards. And then coming on a downhill, you want the engine brake holding you back. I put it down into 12th because I want a little more holdback power. And it will go, let's try 11th. Oh, that's too high a revs. Let's try 13th. No, that's too low. And it'll just, honestly, it'll keep skipping gears without ever actually applying the engine brake. And the whole time I'm picking up speed until I'm forced to use the foot valve and stop the truck with the brakes because the transmission is a dummy. It really is frustrating. And the other thing is going up a hill. You know, I start to climb the hill and it starts to lug down, and at about 1200, it should downshift into 12th. Well, it disengages and re-engages as if it's downshifted, but it says it's still in 13th. And now it's lugging down to 1,000, and then it just skips to 11th and starts pulling at 11th. And I'm thinking, I think 12th would have helped at some point there. So it is the world's stupidest transmission. I don't know that there's something electronically wrong. I just think that it tries too hard. It's thinking too much, you know? Woodinville, Washington. They are taking a load of lumber off my truck right now. Eager Beavers, I had 2 different forklifts while I was unstrapping. I'm pretty gung-ho about getting the straps off so I can get on with the unload. And I had 2 different forklifts come up and say, let's go. So they're pretty gung-ho here this morning, which is fine by me. That will get me unloaded and on my way even quicker. I never complain about being unloaded in a hurry. And then from here, it looks like I'm going to Nucor, so I was right about that. And because of what Jeff, our dispatcher, said yesterday, that there is lots of rebar going up to Prince George, I'm going to put a couple of pennies down on the table betting that I'm going to Prince George on Monday. So we'll leave it at that for now. It's 8:30 in the morning. It's going to take me about an hour to get to my reload point. And if I leave here at 9, that puts me there at 10. I'm rocking and rolling. I'm going to be on my way before 2 p.m., which is awesome. Trying to leave Seattle at 4 p.m. on a Friday is a nightmare. 2 p.m. isn't great, but it's good. Noon to 1, I would be you might even hear me break out into song. There's no telling what could happen if I leave between 12 and 1. We'll keep our fingers crossed. I wanted to show you this intersection as a little bit of a lesson. It's a right-hand turn onto a single lane over there, and that's the turn lane there. There is no way in the world a 53-foot trailer is going to go around that corner. It'll take out the post. So I swung the back end of the trailers blocking that lane. That's why there's no one there. And then I bring the cab back to this lane, and then I'm going to take it as wide as I can and really be careful that no one sneaks up the right side. And here we go. And this way it makes the turn way less stressful for everyone. And I'm opposed to cruelty against telephone poles. I'm an advocate for telephone pole safety. So my
0.2 miles, turn left.
My Western Canadian branch of telephone pole defenders, send out a monthly brochure on how you too can help prevent violence against telephone poles. And I encourage you to sign up for that. I will one day get my little buddy who does the vlog. I'll get her to set up a website for that one day. Okay, thank you very much.
I can only imagine what it will be like when I walk by your side. I can only imagine what my eyes will see when your face is before me. Only imagine, yeah.
going to finish off my vlog for the day. I am at the brake check in Kamloops, the scales. It's a brake check and a set of scales. And then from here I go down the hill into Kamloops. There I'll pull into the yard, unload my stuff, and get home as fast as I can. The girls are waiting for me to bring something home for dinner, so I'll figure that out and get home as quick as I can. I figured closing today I would just give you a real world example of what to do at the brake check. You know, you can look at the list. Typically at most brake checks, yeah, there's one right over the brake check advisory, and it gives you a list of things to look for. What I do is turn on the ignition, make sure your air gauges are up, release your tractor brakes. Typically I just dynamite the tractor brake when I'm parked, not the trailer brake. And then do a full brake application, hold your foot to the floor, and watch your gauges and see if you have any air leaks. You're technically supposed to hold it for a minute, and it depends on your configuration how much air you're allowed to lose. A Super B is allowed 6 psi, I believe, over a minute, and tractor trailer combination 3 psi, something like that. I haven't actually read the details, but for me personally, I don't want to see the gauges move whatsoever. If I do see the gauges move, I get out and find where my air is going. You don't want to see those gauges moving at all. The second thing is, and this isn't something I do every single time. Okay, release the brakes very slowly. Pump the pedal down again, release it very slowly. And I'm going to continue doing this. First of all, because this is how your automatic slack adjusters in most situations are adjusted. It takes about 10 full brake applications, releasing it slowly, and that will adjust your slack adjusters. The old days where you had to crawl underneath with your wrench and get the between 1/2 and 3/4 inch travel, I never see anyone doing that anymore. I certainly don't. So now you've got your low air warning. You should hear that beeping sound, and I've got 2 little dots on my dash, red lights that come on. Right around 60 psi, you want to see those. And if I keep fanning the brakes down to 30 psi, you'll see the tractor and trailer buttons on the dash should dynamite at 30 psi. And then after that, fire the truck up and get your RPMs up to 1,000, and you should be able to build up your air pressure in under a minute. And that just makes sure that your compressor is working fine. And that's a real world brake check. I mean, I got out, I walked around, I thumped the tires, I checked my load, and then I, you know, every now and then I'll do a full check the air system and everything like that, you know, once every day or two. And that's unfortunately what happens in the real world. Typically we don't stop at every brake check and go through every nut and bolt. Pre-trip and post-trip, same thing. It's a once over. In the real world, you want to be able to do that under 5 minutes. Leave a comment below if you do something different, if there's something you'd like to add to that. I'd be happy to know. That's just for me a very simple way to cover my bases in a minute. It only takes a minute. And the number one thing, okay, it's been about 25 to 30 seconds and I'm up to 100 psi. The alarms have gone off, so it's all good. Compressor's working good. In the real world, it's good to have those habits. And the number one thing that people get pulled over for in a roadside inspection is having the brake slack adjuster out of adjustment. That's the number one issue that drivers run into. If you adjust your slack adjusters like that, it's going to make your life a lot easier. I just remembered to do that at brake checks. It's a great time to do it. So whenever you're at a brake check, adjust those slack adjusters. Otherwise, a 60-pound brake application is minimum to get those slack adjusters to move. That's a severe brake application. That's a panic stop. And if you're a good driver and you maintain a proper road distance, you're not typically going to do that. So when you're at a brake check, and if you're out on the prairies or somewhere where you don't typically see brake checks, then make it a part of your post-trip or pre-trip and incorporate it in your day at some point. It's a great practice. Okay, you guys have a great weekend. I am going to enjoy my weekend now. Thank you so much for tuning into the vlog. Take care.